Hey guys, sorry, there's more construction outside. Awesome. I don't know what they're doing. There's always some kind of problem on Broadway. This is going to be the soundtrack, because everybody needs this cool soundtrack. Today I thought we would try some fish tacos. I just got a new book, Modern Steelhead Flies by Rob Russell and Jay Nichols, and that book is awesome. Tons of patterns, a little how-to section in the beginning. I highly recommend it, especially for someone like me who's kind of new to steelhead flies. I've been tying them like crazy for about 2 years, but there's a lot I have to learn, especially when it comes to like intruder style flies and stuff. I was also reading Fusion Flies by Greg Senyo, and that got me started and hooked. And now that I found Modern Steelhead Flies, it's given me even more patterns to work with. So I'm going to try, since yesterday's video kind of sucked, I'm going to flip it around and try to tie around the camera so you can actually see the fly. It's a new theory, right? First, I'll go through some of the ingredients. I don't have everything exactly, as it lists in the book, but I tend to use either the Senyo's Fusion dubbing, or I'm kind of running low on this, so I'm going to use STS Trilobal. This stuff lights up. I'm going to show you when I flip the camera around. We'll light it up with the torch, and you'll see this stuff light up. It's pretty cool. Thread, you can use whatever you prefer. I am lazy. I'm not going to change it from yesterday. This is Nano Silk, and it's crazy strong, so I don't have to embarrass myself by snapping the thread every 5 seconds. Let's see. I'm going to use some Guinea. I'm gonna go with chartreuse. I'm thinking purple and chartreuse for this one today. So we're gonna go with a chartreuse feather with the bottoms stripped off. Alright, something like that. Cool. Also, for the palmered hackle of the fly, we're gonna go with grizzly. You can use anything that's webby. Longer fibers tend to give you a little more bulk, a little better silhouette, so that it doesn't just disappear in the water. It's also going to hold out and keep all that material spread out, kind of your chassis for your fly, if you want to think about it like that. For flash, other than that awesome dubbing, we're going to go with some Flashaboo. Here's a little little trick I learned, because I'm starting to get I've got so much of this stuff lately, and I just keep every week. I feel like I order more. So I found binder clips, these little binder circle clips that I had left over from a play reading I did, and I was like, crap, this is great. So now you just hook it through here. I hang it on my wall next to my desk, and I have, it looks like a drag show in here. I mean, I have so much. Today we're probably going to go with purple. Maybe I'll get inspired, and we'll mix some other colors in there. There's a really cool purple-blue mix that I picked up. You could put in pearl. You can do whatever you want. This fly is totally customizable. For the legs of your intruder fly here, of course, we're going to go with some ostrich. I ordered a whole bunch of colors. They should be coming in any day, but the black is all I have a lot of right now. Let's see. Yeah. Somewhere in here, I've got blue. I've got an OPST grizzly blue as well. I just don't know where I put it. So we're gonna go with black. Until next time. All right, so let me flip this camera around, and we will get started. Boom. Much better. All right. So we'll go ahead and get our thread started here. I'm going to work all the way back towards the back. Now you could use a shank. This one is a sacrificial hook. I've cut down to 35 millimeters, approximately 35, 36. I've done it on Senyo shanks, which come in, like upwards of 40 or down to 25 for some miniature versions, but 35 seems to be a really good proportion. So I'm going to wind back to the back. It looks pretty good. I'm not worried about coating my thread entirely right now. I've got some Senyo's intruder wire here. This is small. You could go whatever size you really want. I think in the book he uses mono as well, or you could use Power Pro. That's kind of your call. I'm gonna fold it. My loop on this guy is only gonna be about 1 inch. So I'll go ahead and start him on top of the hook. It's a whole new challenge working around this camera. It's kind of cool, but we'll see. All right. So I'm gonna run it forward a little ways, and then as I wrap forward, just like I would on a sinew shank, I'm gonna start to allow these tag ends to go around the bottom, okay? As best I can. It works a little bit better on the shank. But there we go. Cool. Gonna work all the way up. And I'm running low on tag in there, so I'm not gonna run both of them up unless I can fit them. Let's see. Yeah, only one's gonna fit through. Hey, I'll take what I can get. That's cool. So now I've ran it back. That's just a safety precaution because these fish are big. Big and mean. I've got a little tag hanging there that I couldn't really get through the loop. I couldn't pull it very tight. So I'm just gonna reach in here with my scissors. I'll get cheaper scissors. Just snip that off nice and close. We're just gonna bind these down pretty tight with this nano silk, man. This stuff, you can crank down on it really, really tight. I can lift the whole vise up with this thread. It's unbelievable. It's expensive, but it's worth it. I bought every color from Jay Stockard, and I'm about to reorder it all because I'm going through it like crazy. I'm just gonna coat this with super glue. Awesome. Now while this dries, because this does take a few minutes to really start to cure, I am gonna take the torch and I'm gonna show you what this dubbing does under the light, and it's why I'm using it. I'm just gonna turn this down. Now watch this. Boom. It glows. I mean, it lights up the sky. It's like a signal light. That is the sinews, or you can do the STS trilobal. I mean, it's unbelievable how this stuff just lights up. It really is spectrumized. There's a lot of other colors. In the black, you'll find other colors and various layers. And in theory, the fish can see that. So that's why I'm kind of using it. I really like to use that kind of stuff. All right. Yeah, doing it right. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and create my butt on this fly, and for this guy, I'm gonna use some chartreuse. It's kind of like a green butt skunk, but I'm just gonna do a purple body. That's all, like a steelhead skunk. So we're just gonna do a nice little ball, and this stuff is pretty long, so you're gonna have to keep torquing it with every couple wraps. You don't have to be too precious about it. We're gonna brush a lot of it later anyway, so. Yeah, nice little ball there. Pull it all back. That's cool. And if there's scragglies, leave them. That's cool. It's a buggy. Fish love buggy. Alright, I've got some brassy size silver wire. You can use whatever color you want, gold, black, pink, more chartreuse, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to use silver because it's what I had laying around. And I'm going to bind it down to the shank. I'm not going to worry like I do with salmon flies about where that wire lays. I'm going to cover most of this up with dubbing, so it doesn't really matter. I like this fly a lot because it makes Intruder style flies accessible to me. I'm not really experienced in them, and this is fast, easy. I think the first time I tried to tie one, it came out pretty well. So I'm gonna repeat the process. I'm gonna let that wire hang off the back, and then we're gonna spin some purple, and I'm dubbing it on pretty thick. These aren't the nicest little noodles here. Because I've got a lot of body to build up. So, got a big ball of it, and I might have to grab more. I'm gonna wet your fingers. Let me spin this on. Man, it sounds like there's a World of the Wars. Alright, cool. Hoping to hit the steelhead around this season. We went up a few weeks ago and drifted with zero limit. Lots of kings around, but the steelhead are running late, so we're going back up this in about a week. Gonna try to catch it again. Hopefully our timing is right. This global warming crap has really messed a lot. There's a lot of warm weather. We're finally getting some freeze coming in soon, so hopefully these fish will be running. And right now they're all kind of like, what the heck is going on? Fortunately, that's the way of the world. Alright. Just get it in there. I'm gonna stop probably 5 mil from the front of the eye. Got a nice chunky little body, and like I said, I'm gonna brush a lot of this out anyways. Okay, now I'm gonna just choose a feather off of this guy here, and I want a pretty long fibers, but I need a long feather because I'm gonna palmer this backwards, kind of like I do buggers a lot of times. Yeah, let's say these are really long, but I kind of want a really long feather, so let me pull that out of there. I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna strip. I need most of it, but I'm gonna strip off like the really kind of webby marabou at the bottom of the feather. So I'm left, and that's a bulky stem. But I'm gonna go ahead and tie it in. You can tie it in on the side or at the top, whatever's best for you. Bending it back, wrap, cover that up. Alright, I'll trim this out of here. Alright. So let's go ahead, get your fingers wet, stroke these fibers back along the stem. Kind of help fold them back a little bit, just to get you started. I'm going to do a nice wrap right around the collar here, and then as I work back, I'm going to spread the wraps out. I'm going to stop right at that green, holding this up. It's hard for you to see on the camera. Now, as I hold this at a 45-degree angle, I'm going to bring my wire through, and I'm going to wiggle it. Keep, you know, some of these hackle fibers from getting bound to the hook. You know, if you want to be precise, 5 wraps is the law. In this case, I'm just trying to secure these fibers down to get the stem bound down and protected by the wire. So I'm not really concerned about how many wraps I'm putting through. It's not a really, you know, fancy spay fly or anything like that. So just get that bound down. Just keep wiggling it through. Yep. I'm gonna hold this. I'm just gonna pass my my little rings are falling off here. There we go. Gonna pass 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna fold this wire back, and I'm gonna wrap again. Go forward, clean up the head a little bit, so I have a nice clean platform. Alright, it's not the prettiest thing yet, but it's alright. We're going to cover most of it up. Trim that tip out. Alright, we'll reach in here, snip this wire out as well. The back of my scissors. I want the torque there, and some of that. I don't want to damage the tips when I snip wire. These scissors are incredible. Razor sharp. You know, I've cut some gnarly stuff with them, and they're holding up pretty well. So I love them. All right, looks pretty good there. For the sake of strength, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to dab a little bit of super glue. just a little bit. I like to make my flies bulletproof because I'm going to beat the crap out of them when I'm spake casting them up in Pulaski in a few weeks. So I cover, you know, I like to try to get a lot of super glue along the shank throughout the process, and anytime I bind things down, I'm not afraid to go ahead and loop a little more in there. All right, now we'll take our ostrich time. For this, I'm gonna make this guy pretty sparse. So I'm gonna take, let's say, about 3/4 of an inch. That's maybe 8 fibers. You can do more, you can do less, but I'm feeling pretty sparse because I want you to be able to see that underbody down there. So we're gonna go on the low end, and we're really only using these tips. It's about 2.5 inches on the tips. You don't have to even up a lot of these tips. You get them generally the same, but having a few that are long in there is going to help with that taper. So I'm going to leave them spread out right over the top and transfer them to the other hand, and nice loose wrap to bind them to the hook. I'm going to do just 2. I'm going to leave it right there because I want to spread these around the hook a little bit. In the photos, the way Jeff Hickman ties them, at least in the photos that I've seen, it tends to be more on the top, some on the top and some on the bottom. I can't really tell how much he really spreads them around the hook, but for the sake of this, I want like a nice round profile. So I'm gonna keep them there. One more thread turn. And so you can see them, I'll come in from the front, trim them off. Boom. All right, now I'm gonna take the same amount. Let me go ahead and pull it off here and snip it. This is about the same amount. Water fiber, 1, 2, 3 fibers, 2 more. Let's see, pull these out of here. All right, cool. Gonna get about the same length. Straighten them out. I've rotated my vise around, and that's why I love having a rotary vise. We're gonna go ahead and real light, 1, 2, and spread. This will allow you to really just go ahead and grab these fibers, pull them around. You don't have to be gentle about it. The water's gonna beat them up anyways, so get a nice round profile. Cool. Looks pretty good. You got one really short one in there. I'll pull them, make them a little longer. I'm gonna do 2 more turns. Guys are bound down pretty well, locked in tight. We're gonna go ahead and snip them off. Close as possible. Okay. Before I do any more, I'm just gonna clean this head up a little bit. I'm gonna go forward to the eye. And it doesn't have to be touching wraps. We're just binding it down, cleaning up a little bit of this. I'm gonna do more of that later. All right, so that's what we're left with. We've got them spread relatively evenly around the hook. There's a little gap in there. I can actually pull some over if I want. It's loose enough. You can see that grizzly floating in there. That's gonna help hold these fibers out. Okay, it's looking decent. I like it. Okay. More super glue. Just a dab. I don't want the stuff falling apart. All right, I'm gonna take, I'm gonna stick with purple for this first round, and I'm gonna take about 10 fibers. You can do 20 on the top and the bottom, but for this guy, I'm gonna fold these over. So I'm gonna take half of what I need. Okay. So there's about 10 fibers here. I'm going to lay them to length, so around the same length as my ostrich. I'm going to bind them to the top of the hook. I'm trying to do this so you can see it. 1 and 2 and 3, and then you can fold them back. 1, 2, and 3. Now I've got these here. I'll go ahead and I'll spread them out. You can separate them. They're going to stick a little. Just place them where you want them. Don't have to be too precise. Okay. I'm going to come back. I'm going to snip them off little by little at different angles. I don't want them to be the same length. So I'm going to kind of feather the ends. You're going to see that talked about a lot with these types of flies. Alright. I would do a lot of different colors. I would mix it up here, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go just to purple. Okay. I'm going to rotate it. Boom. Let's pick out 10 more fibers. About 10, you know. You want to go less, you go less. You want to go more, you go more. Okay. Lay these over the top. About to length, somewhere in there. We're going to bind them the same way. Boom. Okay. More. There's a lot to get in your way here, so take your time. And then I'm going to fold them back. And I'm going to wrap back. Kind of weird to tie around the camera. Alright, so now I have all this length up here. Again, I'm just going to, you're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to feather it little by little. Boom. Looks pretty good. Alright. We got a lot going on there. Purple spread out evenly around, pretty close to evenly around the hook. Move some over. And when this gets wet, it's all going to slick down and pulsate in the water. Okay. Now, it's guinea time. We've got these guinea feathers here, nice big polka dots. I've got one already plucked clean, so we take the marabou fibers off of this, and for this one I don't feel like this fly needs a really dense hackle. I want to go sparse, so I'm gonna pluck some off of one side, off of the far side. Okay, roughly see that, kind of out of focus. It's cool. You're gonna stroke them back, find your tip. Okay, it's like an upside down boat. One-sided boat. Do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Fold in the tip back. I'm going to bind that little stem down. Boom. You could leave it in if you want, but I'm going to trim some of it out here. Now, as you spin, we're going to wrap this hackle a couple turns. You're going to run into a problem. You're going to have a lot of material in your way, and you're going to catch a lot of it, and that's fine. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but we're going to work nice and slow. We're going to stroke these fibers back to keep them back towards the back of the fly, right over the top here. Right. See, I didn't bind that tip down. It's kind of sticking through, but that's okay. And look, all these purple, this purple flashabou's trying to get caught in there. This is a battle all the time. We do one. See how many we can get out of this guy here. I like stripping one half of the guinea. I just find it easier to wrap in. You don't have to have as much in your way, and it creates a little more of a sparse head. More isn't always more. All right, we're gonna hold it up. I'm just gonna cross over once. 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll pull that stem back. I'm gonna bind over the end if I can. There we go. I'm actually left with a bigger head than I like, but I guess it's just one of those days. I can reach in here, trim him out of there. Now, if you wanted, it's not really in the pattern, but we could have put lead eyes on this guy. I know Jeff Hickman does that sometimes, if you want to fish it nice and deep. For me, I find most of the Salmon River tends to have relatively shallow runs. It's a lot of flash, so I might run this through across some kind of flat areas with maybe 1.5, 2 foot depth. So I don't need that much weight. I'll use my sink tip to get it down. But you could have done that. We could have added those in. Clean this up a little bit, and then we will do. Let me find a whip finish right here. I'll do a little whip finish as best I can without hitting the camera. It's kind of wild. All right, do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Taking that off. Trim it up. All right. So I usually lacquer the head a few times. I usually have the first layer super glue, and then I will either do maybe hard as nails over the top of that to give you a little gloss, but I like several layers. Just gotta be careful. Super glue binds this tinsel down. That would be no good. All right, if you want, I'll show you real quick. If you like, I already tied that off. I'll go ahead and I'll put an orange head on here real quick. And you can literally just come right over the top of this. We could gloss it up. Throw some bling in there. And I'm just gonna coat it. And it's a fat head, but fat heads mean more durability, and I'm doing this for a hot spot, so I want this fish to see it. I'm not putting a cone on. So you could use Glow Bright floss if you want. You could put in some sparkly tinsel. I don't care. Okay. And again, super glue. Spin this guy around. Beautiful. I'm gonna let it dry there for a second, and I'm gonna reach in here, clip it off. I don't even need to do a whip finish. The super glue is gonna hold till through the apocalypse. It's not going anywhere. I'll let that dry, but you can see nice and sparse. I can still see the body underneath. Got my loop here right at the back, so I have just enough room to loop in my trailer hook. I'm gonna probably throw a size 6 on there. So there she is. I've got a few more that I tied earlier. You can see back here. Got some black, pink, purple. Kind of gnarly. It's really hard to see. That's one, and an even brighter one that I tied from my buddy Rob. Back here, and it's got some blue, purple, holographic black. It's pretty sharp. You can kind of do what you want. I'm just messing around with colors at this point. And it's all up to you guys. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for hanging in there. And tight lines.